bad boy right now.
Super. All right, Alexis, tell us about you, who you are, where you are, something fun, favorite ice cream flavor. I don't know.
Okay, fantastic. My name is Alexis Scott. I live in Boise, Idaho, and I am the manager of employer partnerships for Aspireship. And Aspireship trains motivated individuals in SaaS sales, and then we help them get hired. So my role is actually finding incredible companies to partner with and hire our graduates. My favorite ice cream flavor is, well, mint chocolate chip if it's like, generic, but if it's brand specific, oatmeal cookie Ben and Jerry's is like crack. Like that stuff is so good. So that's my favorite.
Wow. Yeah, I like that flavor. Okay, Ange.
Hi, Ange McManamon, VP of Global Sales at ProxyClick. ProxyClick is a visitor management system. So we're managing visitors, employees, contractors, and all the people getting back into offices. And yeah, I'm in New York, based in New York. I've been in sales for a really long time. And favorite ice cream right now, although I'm not vegan, Oatly makes a really good chocolate and strawberry.
Awesome. Okay. Destiny.
Hi, I'm Destiny, founder of It's Destiny Recruiting. If you guys want to laugh, I thought this was about me, so I took all these notes thinking you guys are going to about Ben. So I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm here in Seattle, Washington. And my favorite ice cream, I've been trying to buy more local. Usually I'm a Ben and Jerry's kind of girl, but there's a local company on Orcas Island here in Seattle across the water, and they have a cookies and cream, and it is like bomb.com. So I've been probably going through a tub or so a week of that.
Love it. Destiny, I'm confused because I thought it was always like dreary in Seattle, and it looks like sunny outside.
Oh, no, it's definitely, there's been like a tsunami, I swear, raining for almost 8 days. And today it's, overcast and gray. So we're excited about that.
Love it. Patrick, you get
me and my doll hands. Dude, I'm going to be so self-conscious about my hands for like the rest of the weekend. That's great.
Your life.
Yeah, the rest of my life is more accurate.
But yeah, I watched too many TikToks with tiny hands.
I know, dude. First of all, yeah, Patrick Downs, I am a TikTok influencer. That's the most important part. I've been blowing up on the talk lately. And by day, unfortunately, I'm a sales trainer. Oops, fell into that. I do podcasts. I'm a mental health advocate. I design messaging and things of that nature. And I run this with the crazy kids, Frank and Amy, who are missing right now. But very excited to help you out today, Ben.
Awesome. Okay, Ben, I'm going to hijack before you jump on, only to talk about ice cream. Because I'm in Northern Canada, I'll make some cliche joke that basically I just eat frozen snow outside of my igloo. Ben, tell us what you do and how you want to get better today.
What's up, everyone? It's funny. I think besides Ange, we've all talked exhaustively on LinkedIn. So it's really cool to be getting some advice and picking everyone's brain today. So Ben Habert, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. I am a mid-market account executive at Sendoso. I am 6 weeks into my role. So that's partly why I wanted to come on today is just I have some data and sample size of what I'm doing, what's working well, and bounce those ideas off of everyone here. And I believe Patrick's a customer, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got a good understanding of what we do and how I can maybe be better positioning Sendoso. I've been in SaaS for 6 years. And super excited to be here and learn from everyone.
Cool. So
I've interacted with every SaaS product lately. Like every time somebody comes on, they're like, "Yeah, Patrick, you've gone through our sales cycle." Just buying stuff left and right.
So Ben, like, help us understand. Give us some context. Like right now, you're 6 weeks in. You probably had some training around, and like right now, what's a day in the life of Ben look like?
Yeah, so blessed to have a good amount of inbound leads. So opportunities, people open to learning more about how direct mail, gifting, and creating unique experiences. Obviously, we're all virtual now, and how we do that in a home environment is a common question, or how we drive more people to webinars and things like that. And gifting is a really unique way to show that you've done research, personalization, all of the things we see and talk about. So it's a really cool product, and partly why I really actively sought it out is because I had a ton of tools at SAP, my prior job before this, but I was still doing the typical calls, emails, LinkedIn, video message, trying to stand out, yet I couldn't. And I thought Sendoso would be a really cool tool to actually break through the noise and accomplish that. So for me, it's mainly getting those inbound leads, qualifying them, and then working them throughout like a typical demo closing process.
Cool. And so would you say when you wanted to maybe focus a little bit on discovery is a use case, Alexis fires an inbound, query, you kind of, follow up with her and how that initial convo goes?
Yeah, exactly. And the key for me, and one thing that I really want to do that I've done well at other jobs, like Patrick also worked at Yelp and I did it really well there, is like I was able to quantify everything really well. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that in my current job. Of everyone comes to us, hey, we want more pipeline. We want more people to our webinars. We want more of this, but I'm struggling, or maybe I'm not phrasing my questions well enough that I'm getting those specific numbers that I want. So then when I'm mostly selling to, marketing, but probably more of an influencer than a decision maker. So how am I enabling my champion the right way as well moving forward?
So they have some interest, but it's like you have to really kind of like pull out and prove out, like you said, those measurable things like, okay, sorry, Alexis, I'm picking on you because you're like sitting in this chair like a boss. Like you've got this look like, don't mess with me today. What's this? This is the boss bay. Oh, okay. But like whether it's Destiny or Andrew or Alexis, they're like, okay, I think the gifting thing would help. It would differentiate. So they've got the interest is peaked, but they're basically going like, sell me, like prove to me that for Aspireship or whoever it is, you're gonna like move the needle.
Totally. And it's typically two types of use cases, right? People that gift and are bought in on the process currently. How do I scale it? How do I report against it, right? So that's one buyer, and I'm going to cater my conversation way different than someone that's just trying to come up with a new idea of they've never gifted before, but they know they need more pipeline. They used to get a lot of pipeline from in-person events that they're lacking now. So how I structure my questions is obviously different for those two audiences. Yeah. The same challenge presents of how am I quantifying maybe either of those things and doing it well.
Okay. I mean, Patrick, we've done this many times. My gut right now, but I'd love your thoughts is, sorry to put you on the spot, Ben, but I feel like basically like a role play discovery is kind of a great way to, start this and then start getting some feedback, Ben, on like what people are seeing on this.
Yeah, I think that's the best move. I'm happy to be the prospect, but is anybody here like just dying to do a discovery role play outside of me?
Oh, look at all the cheerful volunteers. Lots of smiles. No hand.
Ange, I feel like you would be good for this.
Maybe. I have a question though, Ben, before we move on. Is there any methodology that you subscribe to in your discoveries?
Not at Sendoso. I mean, I try to follow like gap selling and like current state, future state, like ideal state. But we don't like follow a Sandler or have a structured methodology that we prescribe to per se.
Does anybody here, other than Patrick, who apparently has used every SaaS product, anybody here used a gifting platform?
I haven't.
No.
I send a lot of gifts, but I've never used a platform.
Okay, you send a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Okay. And Alexis, have you ever received or sent?
Not from a platform.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've sent, particularly in hospitality sales, I sent a tremendous amount of gifts to my clients.
Yeah, interesting. And I guess I'm curious, like, the question is kind of for Ben and Alexis, but like, do you find like you were saying something about scaling, Ben, but like at what point, maybe Alexis, do you go, couldn't someone else do this for me? and Ben, like, I'm guessing that's kind of when you go, yeah, we're right here, like we can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I'm curious to hear how Alexis answers that though.
Yeah. I guess Alexis, like, was there was probably many stages where you went, why am I doing this? Someone else could do it. Or was that not even just an option?
I mean, this was years ago, so I don't know that there were many options available that I knew of. I think that it's really interesting. If you look at industry, like now that I'm in SaaS sales, it's like, oh, there's so many companies that do incredible things that I had no idea. But for those that have been in hospitality, it's a very archaic industry. I mean, it is slow moving on the technology front. And so just getting in front of them and letting them know that there are options like that is half the battle, truly.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point. Sorry, Destiny, I think you were going to say something.
I was just gonna say, like, Ben, you haven't called me, because if I were to move my computer right now, you guys would see my whole station of like corporate gifts and packaging and stuff like that. So
That's another angle that we can touch on, like time permitting as well. I am blessed with like a ton of inbound leads. And for me, I've been more focused on like getting my talk tracks and like learning and talking to people. But I do need to like begin somewhat establishing an outbound motion and whatnot. Thankfully, some of my LinkedIn content, I have a couple opportunities that have like organically inquired, because I'm trying to move toward like direct mail and gifting and being different in my like content. But I do need to establish more of a traditional prospecting destiny as well.
All I was going to add to Alexis's point there is, I think I think we're all kind of in some form of like the SaaS technology world. And I think it can become this echo chamber, right? Where we'll all be on a call. We're like, oh yeah, I'm using this CRM and this outbound tool and this and this and this. And then you talk to somebody in another industry and they're using like Excel. And we're all like, what do you mean? Like, there's like 15 tools you should be using. Like, you don't record your calls and then use AI. And they're just like, no, like we call people and maybe we, like, right. I'm not the only one that is like, Alexis, you nailed it, right? Like on the technology side.
I mean, it's like, if I were to tell you, even my last role, which is a technology company, God bless them. Like, I had no tools. I had an entire outbound team calling, like, here's what would happen. So the analysts, our team analysts, would send me an Excel sheet and it would have guest, check in, check out, contact information. And then my team would have to go and one by one go through and reach out and do their outbounds. And it's so funny because I like, obviously with my job now, I'm learning so much. And so I texted my old boss and I said, so basically everything my team did could have been automated. And he's like, yeah, but, and I'm like, no, but, like, because he goes, well, how would they reply? If they wrote back, then how would you personalize it? And I'm like, wait a minute. So here's what we do. You have a sheet and then you import and then it sends out emails. And then when they write back, that's when my agents step in and they start to have these conversations. Like, we just wasted so much time. But again, it's companies that they either don't have the fun, like there's all these reasons that they don't do it. But I do think that there are certain industries that simply don't know. And they're changing, right? Like construction is one where historically it's been very kind of ma pa, or even the bigger companies, it's Microsoft driven and not very innovative. But then, as time is going by, you're seeing this shift, which is nice to see. Is just, there's incredible things that we can use to make our lives easier and better. And
so on the gifting side, though, isn't there like kind of when I think of the traditional, there was like the company that you would like call and they would like maybe like send your office a box of pens and then you would distribute them at the trade show. Whereas obviously with the gifting platform, it's, I don't want to just say automated, Ben, but it can be a little bit more like of an integration, right? So you're not like, that's the old school model. You guys are the new school.
For sure. Yeah. So our founders, Chris and Braden, were AEs, and they were trying to improve like their show rates and whatnot, and created a company called Coffee Sender and would send gift cards before. And then that's how Sendoso was created, which is deeply integrated to like Amazon. So if you're trying to like do a highly personalized gift, if I know Alexis likes something in particular for top of funnel, I'll go into Amazon and through the integration, I'll buy a gift with like a pre-allotted budget that I have. Or we just partnered with Cameo. So because of Gong was using that, a huge customer of ours. So celebrities and trying to be different there as well. Also a lot of triggers, like you said as well, Francois. So within Salesforce, if, an opportunity reaches a certain stage or it's above a certain value, you can automatically kick off a gift and send that if it's above 20K ACV or whatever the case may be.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, sorry, Ben, I'm putting you on the spot again, but I feel
No,
like
I'm good to go. So just let
Yeah,
me know
I
who
feel
I'm going
I
with.
feel like if we want to kind of like use an example and then give you some constructive feedback, really a role plays the best. And you know, Patrick's a pretty tough customer sometimes, so you know, yeah, bring those massive hands into the call. So yeah, Ben, I'd say let's do like a role play discovery. Patrick, you know, do you want to be Panda Doc or do you want to be, or Ben, do you want him to be like a net new customer, maybe in a, you know, like a fictitious one?
Whatever he prefers, whatever is easier for him. I'm good either way.
I've done a lot of acting today, Ben, so I just want to be myself. Let's just be
Be yourself,
Patrick at
man.
Panda. I'm just
Whatever
gonna be
you're-
myself.
yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. I'm ready for you.
All right, cool. Hey, Patrick, thanks so much for taking the time to talk today. Agenda for this call, I want to make sure it aligns well with what you need. I'll make sure you have an understanding of who Sendoso is and what we do. I want to seek to understand your needs and initiatives as well. And then if there's good alignment, you feel like this helps with your current initiatives, we'll do a deep dive demo on our next call. If it's not a good fit, I'm a grown man, I have thick skin. Please tell me it's not a good fit. We can part ways as friends. How does that agenda align compared to what you were hoping for?
That sounds good. I think that's some good stuff to cover. And yeah, I'll let you know if anything comes up. Don't want to waste your time, of course.
Cool, perfect. So with that, you know, a 30,000 foot view lens, what led you to be open-minded and inquire to Sendoso today?
We are opening up our enterprise team and we're starting an account-based method where we're assigning a bunch of key accounts to our highest level account executives to prospect with some SDRs. And we're looking for ways to improve conversion rates on those and personalize some more outreach. I had a friend tell me about your platform, so I was interested just to see what you guys could do to help us with that.
Awesome. And coming into this conversation, so I'm not repetitive, what did your friend tell you about Sendoso so I make sure you get what you need today?
It was really high level, just a platform to be able to send personalized items to people.
Okay, awesome. So for your perspective, can you give me a deeper understanding of like how many accounts those reps are being assigned, the pairing structure of how many SDRs, AEs, things like that?
Yep, we have a one-to-one pairing structure with an AE to an SDR. Right now, they're each getting about 500 accounts. And they're probably going to shift that once every 6 months.
Okay. So one-to-one pairing structure, if I listened correctly, you're going to shift it every 6 months and you have about 500 accounts. Did I get that correctly?
That's correct.
Cool. My wife says I'm a bad listener, so you're going to have to tell her that I'm a good listener. All right. So with that being said, for you, walk me through how you're trying to break into those accounts currently. What does the status quo look like?
Yep, we have personalized sequences that we make for most accounts. We do spend a lot of time personalizing already. It's multi-channel, so we're using social, phone, email, a little bit of text too with people that have shown some sort of interest through our ABM efforts. And then we also have tried sending gifts in the past, but it's been a very manual process and hasn't really been adopted by the team. So it's not as regulated as our cadences are with social, email, and phone.
Okay. And when you say it wasn't adopted, what does that mean to you?
Well, like some reps would just do it because they felt like they should, and it wasn't like a process that was adopted across the team.
Okay. I've gifted in the past without, obviously before being biased, and here at Sendoso, and it took me about 2 to 4 hours to, go to Target, buy a gift, then you have to go package it. And now I have to go to the mail, send it and whatnot. And I'm not going to give you my salary, but we can equate it out and make a business case for you and your team. How long did it take for your team to do that manual process when they did?
Probably like an hour for the whole process.
Okay. And when you did that, what were the results? Was it something that they were seeing results with, or what did you see?
We didn't get any results, but like they probably just tried it 2 or 3 times. So it's not really a big enough sample size to say it works or doesn't.
Okay. And have you had any experience with gifting or anything at previous jobs that I should be aware about, before this conversation?
No, this is pretty much net new for me.
Okay, cool. So one thing that I like to, make sure I understand. So on a coming call, whoever you have to present this to internally is what your average contract value is. I'm not asking to overstep. I'm asking to make sure you're a good fit with us potentially. Can you give me a ballpark of what that looks like?
You gonna ask me how much money I make next, Ben? Come on, man. I'm just kidding. Probably somewhere in the range of like early 6 figures, like small 6-figure deals.
Okay. And that's for those enterprise, which are the top initiatives.
Correct.
Any other initiatives or potential use cases, whether it's driving people to webinars that I see here on your website or replacing in-person pipeline, anything along those lines that would be other use cases here?
It could potentially be helpful in customer success too, I think. As far as like preventing churn and helping with our upsells on our land and expand accounts, because a lot of the times we're just getting one team and these larger accounts, and then the account managers are going to be using it after.
Got it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite use cases as well. So like, let's use us as an example, Patrick. You're the head of sales training. Marketing tends to buy Sendoso. So like I'll send a bottle of wine to marketing as a no ask introduction to say, hey, Patrick's doing a great job evaluating us. Here's a bottle of wine to celebrate your 1-year anniversary. We're here for you. So it's a great way for active deals to get involved and really create those upsell opportunities for you as well. Do you see how that could potentially help, or am I coming out of left field there?
No, I think that's an interesting use case.
Okay, cool. And just, I've got a couple more things that I want to, get a better understanding of, but were there any questions you had in your pre-call research or something your buddy told you that you wanted to address?
No, I think everything's been pretty straightforward so far.
Okay, cool. Those are a lot of the main questions I would ask. I probably around more like timeline, decision-making power, things like that as well that I haven't addressed, but those are like the main ways I would go about trying to quantify and do what I was alluding to.
Cool. All right. I'm curious what some of our participants think, would they have been as friendly as Patrick on that call? I mean, it is a discovery, so it isn't a cold call. So, I mean, you shouldn't be getting rejected, but, I'm curious to hear the feedback. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, really good. I think for inbounds, they're a little bit warmer, right? And so building rapport is a little bit easier, which is nice. And I think that's obviously step one and very important. I liked just the agenda setting, very basic 101, but I'm old school in that way. And then, leaving it open to rejection, right? It's okay if you don't want to move forward. I mean, that's not all of us salespeople say that. And I think it's actually quite a good thing. But again, good conversation. I really recommend following some sort of acronym, right? BANT. I like PACT, which is pain, authority, consequence, and target profile. But BANT's also a good one too. Like you said yourself, right? You could have started to go into a little bit more of timeline, budget. Budget I always save till the end. You got to really have that trust and rapport. One piece of feedback. Do you know your filler word?
I've had a couple. So sometimes when I'm transitioning between questions, I can say, okay, cool. And that's really bad, especially if someone says a pain thing to me, because that's not cool at all. Obviously, that's the opposite. And then psychology of sales is I'm reaffirming that their pain is okay. And that leads to status quo. So I don't think I did that one. I might have said, no, would be my other one.
I heard awesome, which
okay.
Mine is so. But yeah, I think, really, really articulate. And then lastly, you did a good job kind of pressing on that pain, right? So how long did it take your team to send the gifts, right? And Patrick was like about an hour. I might have just kept going in there. Well, did that take them away from selling, right? Did that, how did that affect their day? But overall, good.
I do want to hear Destiny's feedback, but it's interesting. In another role play feedback I was having with another friend, they were selling a security product, and it was like a very kind of serious topic and somber kind of like. And so the coaching we had is like using the word awesome. And I'm not saying that was this use case, but the feedback was like, these scenarios, like there has to be this gravitas where it's like, this is a really serious thing, and using the word awesome just like blows that whole idea up, right? Like talking about security and this one goes like awesome. It's like, it just doesn't fit. I don't know if that's so much the case, but I think, you already said it, Ben, like the okay, cool in certain like points just backfires. I don't know if the awesome did, and was that what you were implying, Ange, or you were just saying that's your filler word?
Yeah, it didn't. It's just a filler word, right? And then hearing the okay, cool, like you have a really good point, right? We just got to be, and that goes back to knowing your audience, right? If it is pretty lighthearted and it's kind of this conversation, awesome fit. It did, I don't think it was disruptive.
Yeah. Thanks, Ange. Destiny.
Yeah, I just wonder like how the conversation would have like changed if he was talking to me versus Patrick, just because like telling stories and being like a social seller is like so important to me when I buy from salespeople. And especially like VPs and CEOs are my main decision makers. And the reason I send corporate gifts is to break through the noise and make that personal sort of connection. And so like, I would just talk about like if I was Ben, like my experience as a salesperson and, the efforts and the metrics and the accomplishments that it takes to get into an enterprise account, right? And, maybe the success he's had in the past. Just because like, yeah, in sales recruiting and when you're talking to VPs, especially like I always call it with my team, like the 6-month ego stroke, right? Of just like getting to know them, blurring the lines between their lives, your lives. And when people get a piece of mail, it feels so personal in the same way. And like with COVID right now, I used to have all of my candidates do handwritten notes as follow-ups, right? But now I have them write it on a notepad and like take a picture. And my employers are like, wow, like that just makes me feel like more special, more like, more a part of the process. And that's the whole point of corporate gifts. And I think that you have like the dollars and cents and the revenue of like, let's streamline efficiency, let's automate everything. But to make it a little bit more personal, at least for me, if I was on the other end of the phone of like, Destiny, I know that you understand salespeople. I know that you understand the process. This has been my experience, and this is what we're trying to do to help you.
I'm still waiting for you to pan over to the pile of gifts.
No gifts behind me. You got my bedroom.
No, Destiny said she's got like a stack of gifts she's sending.
Well, I have like a lot of stuff too, and like exactly what Alexis is saying. It's so, like intuitive. Like it's like I have to go, and 4 hours is probably better. I laughed when he said 1 hour. No way in hell are you finding something on Amazon, getting it here. I buy a bunch of stuff and I compile like gift baskets, so like soaps, and like I get weird. I go on use Zoom info, like Alexis said, and I get on people's Twitter and I go to page 480. I'm like, oh bitch, I see that lip gloss in the back, and I put up some of that lip gloss. So it's like, yeah, I think like the personal thing needs to be involved, because the whole point of corporate gifts is the personal aspect, how people feel when they get that piece of mail from you, and breaking through the noise. And like Patrick even started saying, like, yeah, we're doing, cold calls and there's 500 accounts. Like that's a lot of numbers associated with even getting on the phone or getting in contact with that account. I signed, I would say almost 100% of my enterprise clients by sending pink mailer corporate gifts. So
No, I love that feedback. I think, what's might be my challenge more with stories. I've actually done a pretty good job, to be clear, could be better, of like personal stories and use cases and things like that. Like from my perspective, like a tangible example on that was like getting another decision maker involved when I did that role play. What I'm struggling with though, when it comes to stories, is more like case studies, because I don't really know like what the numbers were. I'm 6 weeks in, right? So like, I don't know the before state. So I'm kind of just reading a slide and not telling a long and clear story of how they went from this current process to like this ideal future state. I don't have some of that information or repetition in those case studies to tell those stories.
Okay, Alexis, I'm curious what your feedback is, but yeah, I have a quick question before Alexis gives feedback. You know, the one thing that popped in my mind when you said sending the bottle of wine to marketing, I was like, how do you get around, or how do you fit into the rules that companies aren't allowed to get gifts?
Yeah, so it's like called the Sunshine Act. It's mainly hospitality, like hospitals, and then
Government?
government. Yep, thank you. So for those, perishables don't have a quantifiable dollar amount. So cupcakes, cookies, things like that are pretty much a full workaround because they don't have an assigned dollar amount. Those are the best ways to get around that. And it also, we do serve those clients, but it's not like top within my ICP by any means either, though.
Okay. But like, sorry, Alexis, I know you're going to have a great feedback, but I'm curious, like, you used to work at SAP, like publicly traded companies have tons of rules around that too. So, hospitals, like government, I get that, but then, I mean, you guys have obviously figured out the way around them because you're a growing company, but part of me was like, yeah, but I'm not allowed to buy people stuff sometimes. So how does that work?
Yeah, certain companies, obviously, the general is like 25, I think. A lot when companies have a threshold, it's like 25. That's really blanket answer that I would ask more questions. But from what I've learned so far, as well, yeah, and I don't know the exact best answer of how we get around of like certain companies. Maybe you don't accept gifts at all when it's, top of funnel prospecting, and you could think of it in a bribery weird type of way. I would need to get clarity if someone drilled me on that hard.
But it doesn't sound like it's been an issue yet.
It is not an issue at all. It does not come up as often as you would think, or I haven't come up. I haven't had it come up, and I've done, give or take 20 calls already. So.
Okay, cheers. Alexis.
So quick question, Ben. The majority of people that you speak to are sales leaders. Yes, correct? No?
Should have started there. I would say no. They are more Ange. So they are more, they're more VP of marketing, field marketing.
Okay.
I prefer marketing, bigger budget, and just more use cases with like ABM, webinars, replacing in-person pipeline, things like that. But we do work with sales as well. It's more of like an 80-20 split, give or take.
Okay, cool. So as far as your discovery questions, I thought they were great. I could see that you were trying to build rapport. You were kind of cracking little jokes. And I loved at the end how you had paused to say, like, before I go on, do you have any questions, etc. I thought that part was great. I do think, and the reason that I asked if you were speaking to salespeople in particular is because I think that I'm similar to Destiny in the sense of I want to know the stories. I'm a very relational person. And when you started, I was like, okay, he's following the program. He's going to align the call. He's going to go through the thing. And it's just kind of like, honey, don't sell to me. I'm a salesperson. I know what you're doing. And I think that that's unique. And I'm not saying that to be, rude or anything like that. But I think that, knowing your audience and understanding how they want to learn and how they want to hear about your product. I want to hear all the awesome things that resulted for your clients. Like, I want to know, like, okay, and so, and what, and why. And so that's just kind of how my own mind works, which, could be totally different. But I think that if you are speaking to marketing professionals who don't study sales processes and sales books, then I think you're doing a great job. And I think that that was a great way to start.
It's a question I've had though, too, Alexis, is like, I'm selling to, and marketing is close enough. So a lot of people do know, and they could see that rhythm and feel that process. So it is something that I've thought about of like, how do I need to adjust my style now that I'm selling to more people like myself? So it's really good feedback and something that I've begun to think about in that way.
Well, Patrick, I love putting you on the spot because, well, you always have good answers, but like, you guys already use the product, but like, if you like, if you were to like, have to, flip the script and be in Ben's shoes, is there anything you would be using? And I also love when you use that, what do you call that? not the pain funnel, but where you kind of take that thread and you kind of keep asking these like presumptive questions, like, I bet you don't have this problem. You know, you basically lead them down this path where ultimately they've sold themselves.
Mhm. Yeah, my biggest feedback was going to be like, at the end of that conversation, could you name my top 3 biggest problems with my ABM approach?
Probably not. I mean, I would have a good educated guess, but not clear enough.
Yeah, because before I go into any sort of like demo or presentation or storytelling about other clients, I want to make sure that I'm like hitting the right points and that I'm able to tie it back. And I felt like at that point, you probably knew that I was trying to scale my enterprise team and that something was going on, but like I didn't even tell you if my conversion rates were particularly low. It's just that I wanted to make them higher. Right. So I would have gotten more into like twisting the knife a bit because, dude, you are disgustingly likable. And it's horrible how likable you are. And so I think you could kind of go into it more without it coming off as like weird or offensive or probing. And even when you asked the question about like how much our average deal was, it felt so natural. And I was like, oh, that's such a nice way to say that. Like, I just felt like comfortable about it. So I feel like you could do that more with like pain questions.
I need to. Yeah, it's always been a strength of mine of just a tiny bit of framing up front and then putting it more in framing, obviously, of you, not me, right? Like, I'm not asking this question for my like benefit of like sales. I'm asking this so like, hey, when I draw up a business case for you, I want to make sure it makes sense and I can confidently recommend it. What's your average contract value? So I need to keep doing that because like it's obviously something that I'm doing well. I appreciate the feedback about, as you said, top 3 is something that I try to do that I don't think I did well enough there.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Patrick.
There's this concept that we talk about internally called double clicking. It's a pain discovery concept that's not thought about like leading down a specific path. Like spin, you're trying to get something out of people. Pain funnel, you're trying to get something out of people. But the idea of double clicking is someone says something and you're just like, click, click. I want to know more about that. Like, show me more, essentially.
Yeah, tell me more. Help me understand a little bit more about that. Like, just a little bit, the next layer of it.
Yeah, and it's typically like a contextual question. And it's like a lot of how do you do X and like what happens when Y happens and then what and then this, what happens after that, and like just getting them to keep going because people love talking about that. Like you'll find that they actually get excited about it when they get down it, and then you get so much information that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten, and you're not even asking real pain questions, but you're getting pain. It's been my most effective method. And you can find crazy stuff. Like, for example, someone told me that they were spending a lot of time on their proposals. And I asked like 10 minutes of double clicking questions. And from there, I got to, they had one rep that was teaching every new hire InDesign, which is a completely different problem. But just going forward, clicking more into that one pain, found that other one. And that was the one I actually needed to sell.
So Patrick,
I think that's a like thing that I'm really trying to develop here. I've done it pretty well in my career so far. I haven't done it as well so far.
Yeah, what I was just going to ask Patrick is like in that example, like, you know, Alexis and Destiny were a bit more like, okay, you know, you walked us through, like you checked all the boxes, but I think what I was hearing is like, tell us an interesting story where we could really relate. And then maybe flip it around and go like, okay, Alexis, like how much time are you spending? And Destiny, you told us like, I'm not spending 1 hour, I'm spending 4 hours. Like just keep digging into that story and, you know, tell me when you went to Target, Destiny, and tell me the wrapping you got and as she's telling you that story, what I heard Patrick say is you're just going to like hear about all these headaches that she has along the way. And by the end, you'll be like, okay, cool. I could eliminate like 10 of the 12 things you just mentioned. And I'm assuming Destiny will be like, okay, great, please do it.
That's really good feedback too. The last part of what you said, like I could eliminate 10 of the 12. I think I could do a nicer job of like at the end of a discovery because our sales process moves pretty quickly. So it is like, I try to do more discovery than most reps, I would say, not at Sendoso, just in general, like philosophically of how I sell. But the key is really at the end, you recap so well, like I could solve 10 of these 12 things. I don't think I'm fully hitting on that before I set like, I did a high level demo and an intro conversation, but maybe like before the next demo, just again, the 10 to 12, hey, these 9 problems you have, sounds like we have great solutions for 7 and 9. I look forward to showing that on Tuesday at 12 or whatever.
Yeah, what I found is really resonates is, telling a story to a customer that's relatable, and then kind of going, okay, like, let me understand how today, what gives you really kind of a lot of headaches. And I know that some of these are relatable, so they're going to be like, yeah, we have that issue. Yeah, we have that issue. And, like you just said, okay, you want to be able to basically at the end have a convincing, my story is better than yours. Like, I have these 5 things that you don't. And they're like, okay, I would like the story to be mine now. And then you kind of go from there. So, okay. Any other pieces of feedback? I think we're doing okay for time. I don't know if we have time for another role play, but I feel like Destiny's like, please sell to me and convince me. But I don't know if we have time for that. But any other pieces of feedback or questions you have for us, Ben? Like, are you feeling like typically after discovery calls, people, are polite, but like the next step is not super clear, or that's going really well too?
That's going well. Getting a second call. It's after that where then they're probably presenting it internally. Maybe I'm not working with VP of marketing, so there's not as much of a clear defined step from like 2 to 3. I would say would be more of the challenge. I think for me, one thing that every sales conversation, I think Patrick posted about this today, like, and obviously given what he does, is like pricing up front as well. Sendozo is not a hard concept to understand, right? It's like gifting, doing it at scale. Like, people get it really quickly. So they're even more likely to jump the gun of like, okay, I get it. Like, I can send these gifts, I can automate it, I can report it. Like, what's the cost? So I'm still trying to figure out the value of, or the approach of how to do that and when to do that as well.
Like, just kind of being upfront with, this is what it costs. And
yeah, just like, hey, maybe they press about it one time. I kind of explain it at a high level, or like have a talk track. And if they double click me and really press me on price, is that when I go and do it more? I'm just trying to get a feel for like the timing of it as well. Cause I also don't want to go through 3 calls and, it's way above their budget too. So it helps me to get it out there.
I guess my question would be, are you directly asking budget typically on that first discovery call?
Yeah, so that's the hard part of the challenge. I'd say the industry is like, I have to even if you're doing gifting, people don't really have a direct budget for gifting. So the answer is I'm not asking as much as I should, but from the calls that I'm listening to, that is not a question that we get answered very well.
I don't know your product, sorry. But do you have like different tiers or different pricing structures, or is it kind of a one size fits all? This is what we charge. How does the pricing structure work?
Yeah, there are, multiple pricing structures based on like the features you need or the amount of people you need sending the products and things like that. So I'm able to, like, by the end of a first call, get a good idea of like what that recommendation would look like.
So what if they're pushing you for pricing, push back and just say, it's really important that I understand exactly where you're coming from and what you need, so that when I do quote you a price, it's the right price and it fulfills your needs and kind of gives you what you're looking for, and then just redirect and ask another question.
That tends to be, I think you said it better than I do, but I think that tends to be my initial approach at it. And then if you double click me and go hard there, I will go over it and walk them through at a high level.
Yeah, I think people respect the tailored aspect of a product, right? And so pushing back a little bit there, like Alexis said, I think is actually very appropriate, because you do want to design the cost for them.
Let me ask you this, Ben. Like, if you were on a call with Destiny and you knew, how many people would be using the product potentially, the volume, and how many volume, I guess, gifts, but would you be able to then break it down by saying, okay, you're sending, let's say 10 gifts a month, it would be costing you around X per send. Like, can you do that within that call? Can you do the math there? Like, are you able to ballpark that?
Yeah, if Destiny asks me about it, I'll go down that, but that's a rabbit hole to me, like of getting in the gift cost, because we're a SaaS platform, right? We're on the scaling, the reporting, the integrations as well.
Right.
So for us, I will go down that road if you take me down that road enough, but I'm not going to lead the horse to water on that one.
And the reason I'm asking, I'm curious what the people on the call think, is I'm thinking, out of the gate, the pain right now is just of my time doing this. And so if you could kind of quantify really quickly, like this is the cost not per hour, but per taking away that pain, that for me right away, I think would be helpful to know. But I also understand how you don't want it to just be purely on that. There's more to it. I get that. But that's where my mind was going, because sometimes when I'm explaining a story to someone of where they are and where I can take them, sometimes I like to right away get price involved and basically show like, look, yes, there is this cost, but this is the pain it's taking away. So, let's frame it right away.
I agree. I think just even listening to Destiny, right? It's time and resource. I would hit that hard because then it justifies the price better.
I just think you're getting it out there right away. And I think, Ben, I know what you're saying. You don't want it to be super transactional because there's other pieces to it. So there's probably a better way to frame that. But I think right away being able to go, look, okay, cool. This is how, like, would spending this much a month, for example, could you see that? Would it be worth, if you're spending 10 hours, is it worth X dollars? And right away, you're kind of getting a qualification. They might be like, no, I'll go to Target all day for that much, or yeah, I'll give you my dollars right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what I could do better questioning wise so far is like, it's a hard question to ask. So let's say Destiny had an admin that was doing this for role play example, right? And I'm not going to really ask Destiny like how much her admin's making and stuff.
Why not?
What I would say though is like, hey, to help make a business case to you, like, most admins that are doing a lot of these manual processes are making 40 to 60,000. Is that in range with, what yours is? I got to ask more stuff like that to be able to do what you said, Francois.
But I think what Destiny was saying is that maybe not be a bad question, because maybe her admin could be doing other things that are way more beneficial.
Maybe she's a recruiter, right? And I could get her doing that instead.
That's one thing I did really well. Like I was at Zenefits, which is like a payroll, benefits, and HR software. I said, like, hey, if you're, if you didn't have someone in onboarding spending all this time, what projects would they be focusing on? What initiatives would they be doing? I need to incorporate that a little bit more than what I've done so far.
I've got one more question. I know a few of us have a hard stop in 5 minutes, but how often when you're in that initial call, do people right away kind of ask like where you stand in the competitive landscape? Because we've all agreed we're in this echo chamber of the SaaS world that has all the best tools in the world. And I think there's other tools or platforms that do something like this.
Absolutely.
And so do you get that often? Like how often, or are people just like, I don't know, I've heard there's something like Sendoso and they aren't aware of the other tools, or are most people aware and they're kind of saying, I'm shopping for a gifting platform, you're one of three?
Yeah, I normally back that one up with like timeline. So when I'm asking about like, because I want to know, are you like in the awareness stage? You're kind of just shopping around. Are you like actively looking for gifting as a solution to pipeline? So when I'm asking those questions, I'll bring it up. And then sometimes I'd say it more comes up on the second call because you begin to show a lot more of like the software and whatnot as well. And then you'll get questions that, hey, I can tell that they're thinking about this competitor based on my understanding of what they do compared to us. So I can make an inference and then ask if that inference is correct of who they're evaluating.
Okay, cool. Well, I know a few of us have a hard stop. Does anybody else have any other questions or feedback for Ben?
You're great, Ben.
A great job.
So none of us are expecting a gift after this call.
I dare you to send me a gift, Ben.
I dare you.
I dare you.
No, no
Not
pressure.
in my handbook, I can't send it out to personal friends, and I think we're all personal friends. But
Yeah.
if he wants to turn into a prospect.
I've always thought you were a bastard, Ben. That could officially make us not friends. Please send me some aftershave.
Awesome. Okay, well,
Close.
thanks everybody for making time. This is I really appreciate you guys, coming on here and helping Ben out. Ben, thanks for putting yourself on the hot seat. And everybody have a great weekend. We'll probably on LinkedIn and on the internet shortly. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Take care, everyone.